Hello, this is Jerry, and I wanted to do something about steels like stainless or high carbon. And there's some misconception, like if you have you know, a stainless steel, that it won't rust, and that's not true. Stainless steel is stainless; it has more chromium, so it has a little bit of defense against or more so than just a high carbon steel. They're more apt to rust, and like this old Vietnam era um, bayonet is high carbon steel. They have like a coating. I don't know if it's like a gunmetal or a parkerized finished. So it's going to protect a little bit of the um, cosmetically. It's going to give it a little bit, like just from water. You know, um, they still have to be oiled, and but it doesn't. The most important part is the cutting edge. You see where you cut. I mean, that's the part that matters. And like I've said before, what I do every now and then, I go through my knives and I get some break free on a rag or an old sock, and I wipe the cutting edge down, let them set overnight. And a blade like this, especially high carbon, I wipe them down with oil, let them set overnight, and then I wipe it down and just leave one pass of on the cutting edge. And I got this from A.G. Russell. I'll let y'all see it. This is not a petroleum product. So the reason I quit using it, because I don't know if it's like water based. I don't know if it gets wet, if it just washes right off. I don't know. But I know petroleum is going to push water off of the blade too. So it's going to protect it. That's why when I get knives, I wipe a coating of break free to protect them. But like to say that this is high carbon, but it's coated, so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, you do. I mean, if you buy it to cut, then you absolutely have to worry about it, because the biggest part that rusts is the thinnest part. It's the most vulnerable part. And I do it, and most people do when you, I'm not going to do it now because I've already wiped my knives down, but you want to see if they're sharp and you go like this. I do it. But the thing is, when you do that, you leave the salts and oils from your finger on the sharp part of the blade. And if you go put that up in a drawer and get it out 6 months later or next year hunting season, and you haven't put a little wipe of oil on it, that's going to be vulnerable. I seen that when I was young with, I think it was 440 on a Maxim steel knife. And you could see it was just one area, like where I'd probably myself either cut myself and didn't oil it, or maybe I just was testing the sharpness of it and left it that way, and that part become brittle. So yeah, the coating, it protects it, like cosmetically. It's going to keep most of the blade, like, from getting blemishes and stuff. It's going to protect for that. But as far as the cutting edge goes, it does nothing. It's not a magic force field, so it's not going to protect the cutting edge of the knife. And this is a tops, and most of the time they use 1095 high carbon. And so, I wipe it down, and I let it sit overnight. And every now and then, every year, so I'll go through my knives and just literally do every one of them all over again. And when I get a new knife, I'll wash it with soap and water. And like a knife that I want to protect the whole thing, I'll wash it off, and then I'll wipe it down with oil and let it set overnight somewhere. And then I'll wipe it down and just put one wipe across the cutting edge, because that's the part that matters most. And if the last thing that the knife seen was a thumb or a finger going across it to see if it was sharp, and you put it up, you're going to have a weak place on your knife, a place where that it's going to break down. And you know um, like this CRKT Hisatsu folder, it has this Teflon, which it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it looks good. It is appealing. And but if you want this knife to slash and cut and stab, I mean, especially slice, I mean, that's the cutting edge is what really matters. That's the most important part. So all this coating does nothing for the cutting edge. It doesn't make the knife, you know, um, like rust free or something. It protects the part of the blade that's coated, but the part that cuts is the cutting edge. So same thing with stainless steel. Uh, A lot of people think, oh, it's stainless, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, you do. It's not stain proof, it's stainless. It has a little resistance to staining or rusting, but it's not by any means stain proof. So just because you have a stainless steel doesn't mean you don't have to worry about it. And just because you have a high carbon, but it has a coating on it, same thing. You know, that doesn't mean you don't have to worry about it. It's still steel, and steel corrodes and rusts. So, you know, Tops, they put this big heavy coating on the knives. It's probably like a powder coat. I'm pretty sure it's pretty heavy duty, and so it you know, it keeps it looking good, but it does nothing for the cutting edge. If you want that cutting edge to remain sharp, you can use something like this from like what A.G. Russell, and I'm sure there's other companies that have something similar, but personally, I just prefer to use a hot, petroleum-based oil like brake freeze. What I choose to use, and I wipe them down and then let them sit overnight before I put them back in their sheaths and stuff. And then I know even if I go back 6 months later, they're not going to have a brittle cutting edge. So I just wanted to put that out there, not to be a jerk or anything. And I have had strokes, so I've had to relearn everything. When I got back into knife collecting like 8 to 10 years ago, whenever, the second time in my life, I mean, I literally had to relearn to sharpen knives. Like when I got into 154 cm steels, I was just ruining some really nice Protex because I was turning them into butter knives. I didn't understand about that geometry has to be a perfect V, like these Spydercos. They put the most perfect, grinds and edges on them. But if it's a really hard steel, really tough steel, it leaves you more room if you don't get that perfect, V shape and you start rounding it off, you're turning it into a butter knife. I did it a lot in the beginning. I should have practiced with some old knives, but I was used to sharpening as a kid these slip joints, and these barely have a bevel. So you really don't have to know how to sharpen a knife very good to get these sharp. They're soft steel, or they used to be when they were, high carbon. They're soft and they go to such a thin edge. It's really easy. But these, most of these, this is 1970, and I need to sell it too. But anyway, it's high carbon, and a lot of times you see these older ones that they have corroded and patina on the blades. But yeah, if you keep them oiled up, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you don't oil them, they're going to corrode, and they're going to, that's going to happen. So I just wanted to clear that up, and that's what I do with mine, and it works really good because I've seen that when I was young. Like I said, that Maxim steel, I pulled it out of the drawer after it's been sitting for a long time, and it had rust spots where, like in a couple of places on the cutting edge, nowhere else, just there. So I figured it's probably from where I touched it or someone else did, or maybe even I cut myself with it and wiped it and put it up. I didn't oil it. If you cut yourself too, get that blood off your blades, or if you clean an animal or something, um, definitely want to wash that off and put an oil coating, because that really corrodes. That blood corrodes quick, and where it corrodes the most is the weakest point, and that's the cutting edge. So if you've touched it, or clean animals or whatever, even plants, some plants do that. Or real, I can't think what, if it was an apple. I don't cut apples, but maybe it was a lemon. I've seen where that also really makes them break down quick. I don't know why, but it just does something to steel. But you want to keep that in mind. If you're, if you think your knife is stainless, you don't have to worry about it. It's rust proof. It's not like that. It's has a little more resistance to staining or rusting than a high carbon steel, but you still have to take care of them. So I just wanted to put that message out there. Thank you for watching, and y'all take care.